Welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about numbers in JavaScript. So JavaScript is a pretty flexible language in that you don't have to specify the exact type of number that you want to use. In some programming languages, you have to specify, is it an integer, a floating point number, a double, etc. So in JavaScript, you can actually mix all of them. Any conversion necessary happens under the hood. So let me give you an example here. I have this this online Java tool on my right of the screen, and I have some quick code here. It doesn't matter if you don't understand, but what it does basically is I declare a variable which is an integer, and I declare another variable which is a double. Notice the decimal point here, and then I'm trying to subtract the double from the integer. So let's compile this and execute. Again, this is Java. It's going to output an error message saying incompatible types, right? Because this is an integer and this here is a double. So what I have to do is typecasting, what we call typecasting. And in this case, this number, my double, will be converted to an integer and the value will become 6. So when I compile and execute, I'm going to get 4 here. Sorry, I'm going to get 6 because this is actually going to turn to 4. Not to 6. This becomes 4. So 10 minus 4 is 6. So in JavaScript, you don't have to do any of this. As an example, I'm going to declare a variable here. Let's number equals 5. Actually, I'm going to use the same or similar variable names. Let integer equals 5. And then let double equals 7.8. And now I'm going to have let results equals integer plus double. And notice here in JavaScript, I'm using only let because I don't have to specify ints or anything. Yeah, I have to remove that. But you don't have to do any of that in JavaScript. So you can write let, one keyword to declare any type of variable. Or you can use var if you want, but let is better. We'll cover that in a future video. Anyway, for now, let me console log this. I'm going to console log our results, and I should get 12.8, no output error or anything. Right, yeah. So I get 12.8 here. There were no errors or anything. Forget about this favicon error. It has nothing to do with this piece of code here. So I'm going to close this. So that's the cool thing in JavaScript. All types of numbers, floating points, integers, negative, whatever, they are all seen as number. So number is one data type, and there's a whole lot of information on Mozilla Developer Network here that you can check, but I just want to simplify this for you. So one important global objects in JavaScript is the number global objects. So this global object has properties and it has methods. So we're going to take a look at what it can do, but first I'm going to re-enable this paragraph here. I'm not sure if we're really going to need that, but let me just re-enable this for now. So I'm going to have this here, 1, 2, 3. You know what? Actually, we don't need this paragraph. We don't need this paragraph. I'm going to comment it out. Then I'm going to have this right here. So let integer equals 1, 2, 3, and there is this keyword in JavaScript that you can use, type of, and it will return you the data type of this variable here. So let me go here, console log, and I get string. Now the reason why I get string is because you already know that this is between quotation marks, so it is considered a string. Now let's say you wanted to perform some calculations on that variable, and then you had let's double equals 5.9, and then you did let results equals double plus integer, and I were to console log results, okay, you would get this. Now what happened here? What happened is it took that 5.9, it became like a string, and then it just appended 1, 2, 3. So notice that we have 5.9 here, and then attached we have 1, 2, 3. So that's where the number object becomes really useful, because I could actually add this in front, number and between these parentheses I write the string. Now what happens here, 123 becomes a number, and I can now add it to 5.9, which is why we get 128.9. So that number can actually take strings and turn them to return a number, and that's really useful if you're working with let's say an API or some sort of data, external data source, and you are receiving strings, only strings, like a JSON API for instance, and you want to make sure that you only use numbers for whatever you want to do in your code. Then that's when you can use this global number objects. But there are times when maybe the string you receive is simply invalid. So JavaScript, yes, it is flexible, but you cannot write dog here, for instance. It just doesn't make any sense. Now notice this NaN that appears here in the console. I'm going to try and make this a bit bigger for you. So what appears here, it stands for not a number. So again, this number number object can let you know if something is a number or not. So let's try something here. I'm going to, instead of console login results, I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to check if this integer is a number or not, in which case it is not. So let's do number.isNaN. Is this not a number? And we should get true. So I'm going to pass in integer here, and we get true. So isNaN will only return true if the results, whatever you pass in here between the parentheses, is not a number. And in this case, integer, what's the value of integer? You have this string object dog that is trying to get converted to a number, which is impossible. All right, so it returns true because this cannot be converted to a number, therefore it is not a number. So we have this. Now isNaN is a method you can also use without the number object, and it still works. So it's up to you to use it anyhow you want. All right, so something else that you can do, and I need to point out quickly that this is very useful. Let's say again you were working with your API and you have to do some calculations. You only want to make sure that your code deals with numbers and not anything that is not a number. So in your code you could double check, and if it returns false, it means it is a number, and in this case you want to go ahead with the calculation. If it returns true, then you want to skip it or do something. So this is very useful for verification, to make sure that you're only dealing with numbers. Now something else that you can do with this super useful number objects, I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to have let's max value. Actually this could be a constant, right? So I could have this, and remember constants usually are all uppercase, so I could have let's this max value, and I could have number, and I could use this property max, right, max value, and here I could console log max value here, and it gives me this maximum value that can be interpreted in JavaScript. Now we can do the same thing here with min value, and I just have to pass in I just have to use this property here, min value. And notice the errors I'm getting here is because I'm typing live, so for now it doesn't recognize what it has to log, that's why. So I could pass in min value, and by the way I made a mistake again, it is a constant, so all of this has to be uppercase. So min value here, and now we get the minimum value that can be interpreted in JavaScript. So there are more things that you can find with this with this global number objects, and if you scroll down here you will see what it can do for you. But this was an introduction. I hope this was very useful to you. We only covered isNaN to see if it is a number or not, how to convert quickly a string to a number, and how to use some properties like max value and min value. And the other thing that we learned in this video was that in JavaScript, specific data types for numbers don't matter, because any type of number, floating points, doubles, integers, or anything can be used together in calculations, and you won't get any output errors. So I hope this video served you a lot, was easy for you to understand how to use the global number objects. in JavaScript and how to deal with objects overall in your code. If you liked it, please make sure you subscribe to this channel. Turn on your notifications. That is super important for me, guys. Like this video and share it, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Cheers.